The clues are certainly all around us, ladies and gentlemen, everywhere we look, they're all around us. And they continue to be so as I speak today, obviously. Now, if you've read the Astrology of God, you will see that there is something called the growth of knowledge. Okay, it starts very low, obviously, and it passes through all the stages. You have a look, goes all through all the stages, and the last three stages are the last stage is the potential stage, or the known potential stage. It's when all that isn't known and all that's hidden away, all that we refuse to face, is finally faced. So it's one of those times when we go, oh my goodness, I didn't want to face that. It's all the stuff that's operated on a subliminal secret level. It's all the stuff that's been cast away and hidden, and it's therefore it's all the stuff that we're afraid of and don't want to deal with, and it is therefore the place where there is no life, because it's what has been turned into not living because we refuse to face it. It's what haunts us. It's the spectre in us. It's the hidden part of us that drives us on. It's the goblins that chase us through life until we turn around and finally face them, and then face our freedom. And it goes through those stages. You can see that explained in the Astrology of God. And when you get to the potential stage of anything, it is a time when all of your reality, let's say, all of what you accept to be real is challenged, because you've had to adopt a particular pattern, and anything that's threatened that pattern, if you like, you've buried it. You know, we're not facing that because that threatens my structure, and so when you get to that potential stage, so when you get to that last stage in the growth of knowledge, because you start very low, and it follows the same pattern as growing from a child to an adolescent and so on. That's how knowledge grows. You see, have a look in the Astrology of God, and when it gets to that last stage, the potential stage, that's when everything's faced, and of course that is really going to challenge the structures. There are two other stages before that challenge it as well. The conscious conception and the conscious interface, but the final crucial one is the potential. Now that's when all Hades, all hell, if you like, is let loose, because it is when you face what you've hidden. It's when you face what is dead, or not living, let's say, not allowed to live because you've refused to face it. Now we go through crises in our lives, don't we? When we get depressed, when our lives are undermined, when something comes in that makes us think, oh, you know, where do I put my feet now? You know, because our structure is threatened. In astrology, if you have what's known as a Pluto transit, this is what happens. And I'm sure there's going to be some of you out there who go, oh, astrology. No, well, I'm telling you, it actually works. When you have a Pluto transit, that means the ingredient of Pluto, which is that Hades, that potential level, comes in and it breaks things down. It forces you to face your strength, actually, because it forces you to face what you have been afraid of. And so that's what happens when you get this potential level, when you experience anything at that particular level. Now, of course, we're all going through a little bit of a potential level all the time, but there is an ultimate and important one before we become complete. That's when everything in our existence is finally faced. Just a minute while I do this so I can hide myself from the those lights shining in my face. Yeah, so there is that final stage, you see. And it's the potential stage, and it's when everything gets messy. It's when everything turns itself upside down. And of course, also, because it is the stage that is to do with, let's say, death, you know, because it's what we've refused to allow to live, it's also that part of us that sneaks in and makes us do the horrible thing. We can feel it coming in. It's that it's that murky side of us that says, let's do the horrible thing. You know, and what you have to do is deal with it and face it. So it is, like I said, it's also to do with our power, because it is when you face something like that, something so powerful over you, and you deal with it, you take the power. So like I said, any Pluto transit, when Pluto has something going on in a natal chart, when we're going through the potential stage, it's a time when we actually have to face what haunts us, what we have hidden. And then we can overcome it, and then we become more powerful. On the other hand, if we don't face it, we go down with it. You know, a Pluto transit can be a very dark time and very horrible time, and we can refuse to just to sit and accept and learn through it and find out what it's doing to us, and not be, you know, not, let's say, go down with it. Because it's down, isn't it? It relates to what is hidden, what's deep in our depths, and it comes up on that last level. You know, there's always that big push before everything is done. You only have to look at the so that's for an individual. An individual goes through those levels. We all know about it. We all have those dark times. We all know when we have to face a problem. But there is also an ultimate one when we finally go into the level of completion. Now, these stages of growth of knowledge are also the same for the collective, for the global, for the planet. And the planet is now at that potential stage, and it has been for quite a while. And it's getting increasingly so. So collectively, we are beginning to face up to all the stuff throughout our history, throughout the whole time the human race has been here. We're facing up to what we have hidden from us, to our weaknesses, to those things that have overtaken us. I mean, throughout history, we've always allowed corrupt leaders to overcome us. And so now we're getting to a stage when we're really getting dealt a big whole slice of corrupt leadership, especially through this New World Order thing, especially through the European Union, the North American Treaty, where there's this big growing government. What is that telling you? It's telling you that there's something in you, or in us people, that disallows us to take responsibility for ourselves. And we've always looked up and said, oh yes, 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 but now it's time for us to think, no, 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 we need a far more democratic, and I don't like that word because it's a funny old word, and it can be also used in all sorts of ways. Try looking at it how I explain in the book A Message to Us All. I do try to go through it there. But what it's saying is that we have something with consensus, where we take some part in the running of our country. So we actually use our power, not only at an individual level, not only in our family, community, but also our nation. And of course, if we don't do that, then you get the big state that takes over and crushes you. Now, other things about the potential stage are that it's that part of us that doesn't live, of course. And so when it comes around and buries us and says, look, here I am, it's going to cut you off from God, because it's that part of us that we have not allowed to live. It's that part of us that's dark, that's hidden. And so when it finally overwhelms us and we have to deal with it, we feel a cutting off from God, because it's that part of us that we've disallowed to live. And of course, God is all life. And so when it overwhelms us, we have no life. With a capital L, we lose our connection with God. Hence, for example, we've got, and we get very materialistic, for example. Like in the world today, everything, it's all about debt. There's an item here. Ed Miliband vows to cut tuition fees to £6,000. Where's he going to get that money from? Why is he saying that he's going to spend my money in that way without my permission? Then you see something here, 1.7 trillion. British taxpayers risk being caught up in a big deal, on Greece and its massive debts, all about debts. which is also all controlled by these very small banks. They're the ones in control. They're the ones pulling the strings. They're the ones who are ultimately taking our power. But it's a very material situation. People saying, look, here's the money, take this money and vote for me. And at the same time, you've got in the Daily Mail today, for example, BBC turns its back on Year of Our Lord for something that's politically correct, or the Common Era. Again, it's that burying over of spirit. So you've got materialism coming in. Here, take this, it's only 6,000, but if you vote for me, then you can get cheaper to college. But to get to college, I'm going to steal off these people to do that. And then I'm going to go into more debt because we can't afford it anyway. And so this material world tightens and gets closer and closer. And then you've got the BBC saying we're not going to have we're not going to call it AD or BC, we're going to have the Common Era or whatever it is. And again, undermining our spirit connection, our connection with God, our connection with the ultimate authority. So we have this period of time when the materialism comes in. And now, according to the astrology of God, when we come to the final time in the world, you know, when the global collective, when the collective individual is about to be ready to be complete, it must go through the potential stage. And so, like I said, all the darkness comes in, and so the symptoms are we can lose our connection with God. And of course that means, like I just said, the material situation overwhelms. We get cut off from God. We become more interested in material things. We become less interested in our environment and the nature of things and natural things. We become far more introspective. One of the things that cuts us away as well is our thought. We become unable to think for ourselves. We become able to exercise our power to think. And of course that's connected with the television, which is set at a particular level that creates an alpha state in your mind, which is a hypnotic state, and then you get manipulated with the information that goes in. And as Alan Watt has explained, look up Alan Watt videos on the internet, what happens is that opinions are, to put it in a, I can't put it in a better way, are actually downloaded into you. And so you have these opinions, you don't quite know why it is. And it's because they've been downloaded into you, because the BBC, or not the BBC, but a lot of it, that the television is flickering away at a certain flick rate, which they choose specifically. It could be one of many flicker rates, but it's specifically the one that induces an alpha state, so it helps you get just drawn in. If you haven't watched the television for a long time, you can feel this happening, this state happening. And that also cuts you off from humanity. It's all part of this facing up to what's hidden. It's us living what we have been like. Because if you dismiss part of your life, if you refuse to face up to what you are, it will come knocking one day in the way that you treated it, which is unpleasant, which is cut off. Anyway, so we're going through this potential stage at the moment. Cut off from God, and also cut off from our morals. There's a big article in the papers today about British girls that is focusing mainly on girls just falling all over the place, drunk out of their minds, hardly any clothes on. You know, and we're talking. It's like in the Bible about Jezebel, and you know, seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. You know, the idols you could say is the TV, if you like, or it's a general degrading of people, moral degradation. This is what happens when we don't have any idea of what the true order is, when it's cut off. And this is what's happening with this potential level, because we're facing up, we're having to deal with all that part of us that has been cut off, and so it's making us feel cut off, if you see what I mean.